LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is the 6th LEGO Star Wars game. Many thought it would be a successor to the complete saga due to it being an updated retelling of all 9 films, but it turned out to be an entirely different beast altogether. This game aims to incorporate trends from modern AAA gaming into the usual LEGO formula, hoping to shake things up from their usual style of just doing complete saga again, but with different franchises.
Spider-Man, this one has Batman again.
And while I do think they did in fact shake things up, I'm not quite convinced it was entirely successful. Before we start, I gotta apologize for what's on screen here. There's an upgrade in the game that tells you where mini kits and kyber bricks are, and I didn't know you could turn it off until after I finished playing through all 9 stories, so yeah, sorry for all that bullshit on the screen. I hate it too. Let's start with the positives. I'm not emotionally ready to hate on this game quite yet. This game's humor is practically perfect. A lot of people still dislike the inclusion of voice acting in LEGO games. Man, they started doing that over 10 years ago. It's time to move on. If it's like LEGO Jurassic World where they just reuse dialogue from the movie, I get it. But this game has a dedicated script with its own voice actors, which means they aren't limited to visual humor like previous games, and they can start dipping into the well of scripted humor.
Rise and take them.
I don't like sand.
I agree.
Now is not the time for this.
I do think it's funny how they rewrite some lines here and there to make the prequel and original trilogies more comedic, but they barely change anything when it comes to the sequel trilogy because of how jokey those movies already are. Their plots are also completely nonsensical, which lends well to LEGO humor. Anyway, in general, this game has to be the best looking LEGO game yet. I love how the battleships in the game are entirely made out of LEGO bricks. It always confused me as a kid why the environments in Complete Saga rarely had any LEGO integrated into them, so this scratches that itch for me. The planets themselves are still all natural though. It's like most LEGO games where only the stuff the player can interact with is made out of LEGO, and that's good from a game design perspective, but I don't know, just think how cool it would look if the buildings on Coruscant were all built with LEGO bricks. I will say the performance of this game could be a bit better. There are like 1 to 2 moments in every campaign where the frame rate would lag for a second or two. Not enough for me to outright say the performance is bad, but enough for me to be talking about it right now. Sadly, that kind of ends the nice things I have to say about this game. So let's start with this game's difficulty. This game is piss easy. You know, like piss. This isn't to say LEGO games before this were hard or anything, but Skywalker Saga can be downright brain dead at times. It's practically impossible to get lost or not know where to go next because of this glowing waypoint thingy. I mean, it does help. Like, a lot, and that's the problem. It's hard to feel encouraged to explore and do side content when the game is constantly telling me, no, go this way. I usually try and explore some of these areas, but it would get to the point where I would just be tired of playing and would turn my brain off and follow the waypoint thingy. I don't even know what it's called. At one point I did turn it off, but there's like no way to know where you're supposed to go without it, so I just turned it back on. You'd think the combat being more intricate this time around would make the game more difficult, but in reality it just takes longer to kill enemies now. You have like zero incentive to not mash the attack button until the sequel campaigns where enemies start blocking your attacks if you don't shake things up. And it's not like doing these combos feels great either because it can feel pretty clunky a lot of the times. Sometimes it feels like the game doesn't even register that I hit the circle button instead of the square button, and it just does the normal attack button anyway. So that's great. And it doesn't feel rewarding to pull off a big combo because, again, it just feels like it takes longer to kill enemies now. I do it anyway though, because I get bored mashing one button over and over again. I'm also a Pokemon fan though, so I don't know what my problem is. The starfighting sections, while very fun, are also very easy. Although there's something satisfying about how many studs you get from destroying everything in sight. I got true Jedi on almost every one of these levels on my first try. But you know what you also do when you play as starfighters? Go from level to level. This is a terrible transition. My biggest problem with this game is how it balances the open world traversal and the actual levels. Like 80% of my gameplay is mindlessly walking from point A to point B in a large open area, following the appropriately named glowing waypoint thingy. Sometimes I like how the open world is handled. There are certain points during Star Wars movies where the characters are, in fact, going from point A to B, and these moments translate well into the gameplay formula. Moments like Obi-Wan sneaking around the Death Star, or Rey climbing the ruins of the second Death Star, or Luke going through Yoda's training course on Dagobah feel like natural inclusions. However, there's many times where the open world just feels like it's artificially making the game longer.
Is it much farther, Master?
Is mine and Padme's company boring you already, my Padawan?
Like in Revenge of the Sith, where you gotta walk from the Jedi Temple all the way to Palpatine's office as Mace Windu, which naturally makes me think, oh shit, are we gonna get to fight Palpatine as Windu? No, the fight is just a cutscene, and then the game teleports you to Kashyyyk. What is it with Star Wars games constantly making me go back to Kashyyyk? It's not that beloved of a planet, it's just where f***ing Chewbacca's family lives. Stop making me go there. Or this part in The Last Jedi where I have to go set up a cell signal on Crate, which, I mean, technically it happens in the movie, but it's not this much of a focus. It also rubs salt in the wound. I didn't even intend for that to be a pun. It also rubs salt in the wound when it goes to the Battle of Crate, and it's just a cutscene. I can't play as a speeder, bobbing and weaving through AT-AT legs and dodging fire from TIE fighters, but I can build a big drill. Cool. I think every campaign has at least one moment like this where it really stretches out some moment in the story in order to justify spending time in the open worlds. The most egregious to me was the first section in Empire Strikes Back, where you spend like 20 minutes climbing up towers and adjusting satellites. Look, whoa. Look, I get that a lot of time was spent building these open worlds, but when you force me to do menial stuff like this in them instead of things that actually happen in the movies, I get a little frustrated. Like what I was saying about Last Jedi, why am I just drilling through tunnels when I could be playing through the actual Battle of Crate? I already hate this movie, you could at least try to trick me into liking it. Since we're somewhat on the topic, I'm gonna do a lightning round of my thoughts on every single campaign, because god damn it, I played through all of them in 2 days and I'm not letting that go to waste. Phantom Menace is one of the more well-rounded campaigns. The open world's fine, the levels are exactly what you need, and the mall boss is way too easy, but it makes up for it by being a Better Call Saul reference. I'm a Phantom Menace truther, so I'm a little biased, but this is probably one of my favorites. The pod racing section was sick too. Attack of the Clones has way too much open world. Obi-Wan's entire side story is all just walking from point A to B, and it's pretty boring. You have to slowly follow Mary Sue, or whatever his name is, throughout the cloning facility until you reach Django's room, talk to Django, run to where the Slave 1 is, fight Django, and then run all the way back to Obi-Wan's ship. Mind-numbing shit. At least it's all relevant to the movie. Never mind. I love that the Tusken Raider camp is literally like 30 seconds from the Lars homestead, so there was nothing stopping Owen from just walking over there and getting Shmi back. Overall, this campaign's okay. Revenge of the Sith goes by really fast. I know a lot happens in that movie, but it feels like so much gets skipped over. Maybe it's just because I love that movie way more than any normal person should. Anyway, speaking of bias, the General Grievous boss is my favorite boss yet. You get to fight Grievous, my favorite Star Wars villain, and you get to play as Commander Cody, the greatest clone of all time. The G-Coat. On the other end of the spectrum, the Anakin boss was a huge letdown. I know they want the second player to be able to do something, and the droids are pretty much the only option for additional characters during the scene, but holy shit, it's really annoying when I'm in the zone fighting Anakin while Battle of the Heroes is playing in the background. Then I have to f***ing switch to C-3PO in order to do some bullshit. It would have been so cool if it was like complete Saga and player 2 got to play as Anakin. Considering this is what many, including myself, consider to be the best lightsaber duel in the entire saga, this was a huge fumble. New Hope is probably my favorite out of all of the campaigns. I just think the story lends itself well to a game like this, and I thought all of the highlights of the movie were properly represented here. Minus the TIE fighter chase, but you can do that, like, literally all the space areas, so it's fine. The Docking Bay 94 section went on for way too long, though. You're just fighting off hordes of stormtroopers while Chewbacca very slowly fixes the Falcon, and the gunplay isn't particularly fun enough for me to enjoy this much of it in one sitting. This level lasted like 20 minutes too. Empire Strikes Back is also pretty good, minus the previously mentioned opening section on Hoth. I wish the asteroid field level lasted longer, but that might be because of how much fun the starfighting sections are. They fucking copy-pasted the Docking Bay 94 level into Cloud City, which is really annoying considering I already didn't like it. This time Boba Fett shoots at you. Isn't that cool? Isn't that difficult? No, you shoot him like 3 times and he goes away. Return of the Jedi was pretty fun. I used to replay the sail barge level in Complete Saga all the time when I was a kid, so I was a little miffed that they skipped over that section where you're on the skiff things. They just had you on the sail barge the whole time. The Palpatine boss was a little disappointing as well. You just deflect his lightning, then fight some guards, then deflect his lightning, then fight some guards, then deflect his lightning, then you're done. I didn't like that I didn't get to blow up the second Death Star either, but I guess it would have been too similar to the ending of New Hope and the Falcon section in Force Awakens. Man, I started the section off saying that I liked Return of the Jedi, but all I did was complain. Huh. I don't remember anything that happened in Force Awakens. I think I blacked out while I was playing it. Hey, you play all these campaigns back to back and try to say something unique about each one. Last Jedi has a gambling area that I spent too much time in. The section where you go into the cave on Octu was fun to figure out. It's really random and there's nothing else in the game like it, but I thought it was cool. My biggest problem with this campaign I already talked about. That and the Captain Phasma boss. This was the only time I got stuck during the game, and it was because you're supposed to shoot her with the turret during this part. But like, if you tried that earlier, the shield in front of her would deflect it, so I naturally thought that that wasn't the solution. Also, why do we have to cause a prison riot which didn't happen in the movie, but we can't ride the weird space horses through the city? You went through the trouble of building the whole city and you made me walk through it in order to get to the casino, so why not let me ride space horses through it? Rise of Skywalker reminds me that this movie exists, and for that reason it's my least favorite. Half joking. It's not bad, but the source material does lessen my enjoyment of it. There's a lot of open world going from A to B stuff in this one. Some of it is cool, like the Death Star ruins. In other parts, I question what the point was, like when you gotta talk to a bunch of people at the county fair, and it leads to nothing. I like how the infamous dagger scene is completely unchanged, and anyone who hasn't seen the movie would probably think that this is something the game came up with. You know what? Good for them. My ranking of the campaigns is probably New Hope, Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith, The Last Jedi, Force Awakens, Attack of the Clones, Rise of Skywalker. Honestly, there aren't huge differences in quality between all of them. They're all at least fine. Your favorite movie is probably going to be your favorite level. Unless your favorite movie is the Clone Wars movie. You sick bastard. I barely spent any time in the Galactic Freeplay mode. I'm so burned out on this game. I just pretty much unlocked Grievous and Boba Fett and Sheev, and I was done. That's all I've ever wanted. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is weird. I think it's a good game, but it has its fair share of problems. It's in this gray area where it's too different for Lego fans to like it, but it's not successful enough in its ambitions for new fans to really latch onto it. As good as the humor and the graphics are, I'd personally rather play Complete Saga if I'm ever in a LEGO Star Wars mood, though I still had fun re-experiencing these films through a new lens. It starts to get boring watching these movies over and over again, so it's fun to experience them again. But if they were 3 inches tall and didn't have fingers, and for a great price too, it has a crazy sale on pretty much every digital platform, and I got the deluxe edition for $14 on PS5. For reference, this is what $14 will get you with actual Star Wars Legos.